About a month ago, I made a video on the greatest NHL player of all time from every country. That was probably the most fun I've ever had putting a video together. I really enjoyed making that. So today we're going to do something very similar and go over the greatest NHL player of all time from each province and territory in Canada. Now, if you guys want to see me do this exact same concept for every state in the US, then let's try and hit 800 likes on this video, and then that'll be the next video that I post. Quick little disclaimer before I get into things, because a lot of people didn't seem to understand in my greatest player from every country video, this is based off of where the players were born, nothing else. For an example, if a player was born in Alberta but then moved to British Columbia when they were 5 months old and grew up there, they still qualify for Alberta because that is where they were born. So hopefully that can help us avoid any confusion. Before we begin, be sure to go follow my social medias like Instagram and Twitter. Links to those will be down below in the description. And most importantly, if this is your first time on the channel and you want more NHL content just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And with all that out of the way, let's get into the greatest NHL player of all time from every province and territory in Canada. We might as well start off with Nunavut because there actually has never been a player born there to play in an NHL game. However, there is Jordan Tootoo, who is both the first Inuk player and the first player to grow up in Nunavut to participate in an NHL game. From 2003 up until 2017, Tootoo played 723 NHL games and tallied 161 points and 1,010 penalty minutes. So again, although there hasn't been a Nunavut-born player to play in the National Hockey League as of yet, Jordan Tootoo is definitely the closest thing, so I figured I'd mention him. Next up we have Yukon, and there's actually only two players to choose from here, Byron Baltimore, who only ever played 2 games in the NHL, and Peter Sturgeon, who I guess we'll go with. He only played 6 games himself. All 6 of his games coming with the Colorado Rockies, 2 of them in the 79-80 season and 4 in the 80-81 season, and in those 6 games he had 2 penalty minutes and 1 assist, so he's the only Yukon-born player in NHL history to tally a point. It'll be interesting to see when somebody joins him in that category, because I'm sure it'll happen someday. Moving along now to the Northwest Territories, only 4 players to choose from, but the greatest and actually the only of the 4 to put up a point in the NHL is Jeff Sanderson. It's not Geoff Sanderson, I learned that the hard way. Fun fact, he's actually the father of Ottawa Senators' 5th overall pick from this most recent NHL draft, Jake Sanderson. Jeff played in the NHL for a very long time, from 1990 all the way up until 2008, over 1,100 games, played for 8 different franchises, and tallied 700 points. He had a pretty solid NHL career. He definitely has this spot pretty comfortably. I'd imagine it's going to be a very long time before somebody comes along and takes over as the greatest player of all time from the Northwest Territories. Moving down to the Maritimes now, we have New Brunswick, and their greatest NHL player of all time has to be Danny Grant, and I'll give an honorable mention to Greg Malone as well. Danny Grant is actually a former Calder Trophy winner as NHL's Rookie of the Year. He won the award back in the 1968-69 season as a member of the Minnesota North Stars when he put up 34 goals and 65 points. He actually had numerous seasons throughout his NHL career putting up 60 or more points, including a 50-goal, 87-point season with the Red Wings in 1974-75. Grant actually led the Red Wings in goals that season, ahead of somebody like Marcel Dion, who had 47. Next up we have Nova Scotia. Definitely have to give a big honorable mention to Al MacInnis, who had a pretty fantastic NHL career, and of course Brad Marchand and Nate McKinnon are worth mentioning too, but the greatest is easily Sidney Crosby. I mean, he's one of the greatest players to ever play, over 1,200 points already, and he hasn't even played 1,000 games yet. He's a 2-time Art Ross winner, a 2-time Rocket Richard winner, a 3-time Ted Lindsay winner, a 2-time Hart Trophy winner, a 3-time Stanley Cup champion, 2-time Conn Smythe winner, multiple gold medals. I could go on and on. This one was definitely a no-brainer, and I feel like we should all probably be in agreement, and if I'm being honest, I don't really think anyone's ever going to take this spot from Crosby, at least in our lifetime. Prince Edward Island, or PEI for short, has definitely produced a lot of NHLers, but the greatest definitely has to be Brad Richards. Now, a lot of people seem to remember Brad Richards as one of the biggest free agency busts of all time after he signed that massive deal with the Rangers, and while that is definitely true, we shouldn't allow that to take away from the fact that he did have a real good NHL career, over 1,100 games and over 900 points. He actually had multiple seasons putting up 91 points. He did it once with the Tampa Bay Lightning and once with the Dallas Stars. Richards also won the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoffs MVP back when the Tampa Bay Lightning won the 2004 Stanley Cup. He had 26 points in 23 of those playoff games, and honestly, that playoff run by Brad Richards in 2004 with the Lightning is one of the more impressive playoff runs by an individual player since 2000. If I'm not mistaken, he had a record-breaking amount of game-winning goals. Continuing on now, next up we have Newfoundland, and a bit off topic here, but if you're not from Canada or you've never heard a Newfoundland accent, I strongly recommend you go and look it up on YouTube. It is absolutely hilarious. They pretty much have their own version of the English language. But anyways, who's their greatest NHL player of all time? That's what you're all here for. It comes down to Dan Cleary and Michael Ryder for me, and while Cleary did play for a longer time and was part of some great Red Wings teams, Red Wings bias aside, Michael Ryder was definitely the better player, so we'll go with him. Michael Ryder was definitely never a superstar, but he had some really good seasons. He scored 30 or more goals in a season 3 times and put up 50 or more points in a season 5 times. He's also a Stanley Cup champion. He won it with the Boston Bruins in 2011. He had 17 points in 25 playoff games. Just a really solid career. Moving on now, next up we have Manitoba. Now you could make a case for Jonathan Toews given the fact he was such a big part of the Blackhawks modern day dynasty, and obviously he's had an incredible career, but for me personally, I definitely think the greatest NHL player of all time for Manitoba has to be Bobby Clarke. Clarke had 3 seasons putting up 100 or more points. He actually led the NHL in assists 2 different times. He played in 9 All-Star games, and in a 4-season span from 1972 to 1976, Bobby Clarke won 3 Hart trophies as league's MVP, a Lester B. Pearson trophy, which is now known as the Ted Lindsay Award, and also, and most importantly, 2 Stanley Cups. And in his second to last season in the NHL, 1982-83, he actually won the Selke Trophy as the league's best defensive forward while still putting up 85 points. Also should be noted that given the fact Bobby Clarke had type 1 diabetes, he served as an inspiration for a lot of kids growing up with diabetes who wanted to play in the NHL, Max Domi being one of them. Clarke was a part of the NHL's list of their 100 greatest players of all time, and obviously he is a Hockey Hall of Famer. Let's just get Ontario out of the way because it's a no-brainer, and I'm not even going to bother giving out honorable mentions because there is just way too many. There's 28 total NHL players that have put up over 1,000 points that were born in Ontario, but the greatest is obviously the great one, number 99, Wayne Gretzky. I really shouldn't even have to explain this, but I'll do it anyway. Over 2,800 points in 1,487 games, for starters, 10 Art Ross trophies, he led the league in scoring 10 times, 5 Ted Lindsay Awards, he won the Hart Trophy 9 times as league's MVP, he's a 2-time Conn Smythe Trophy winner as playoffs MVP, he won 5 Lady Byng trophies, and of course has 4 Stanley Cups. You can't even count on 2 hands how many records Wayne Gretzky holds. He's widely regarded as the greatest NHL player of all time, so it is a no-brainer that he's the greatest of all time from Ontario. Moving along now, next up we have Saskatchewan. There are 6 NHL players born there that have put up 1,000 or more points. This is another no-brainer though. The greatest NHL player of all time from Saskatchewan is hands down Gordie Howe. His nickname is literally Mr. Hockey. Over 1,800 points in 1,767 NHL games played, which is just an insane number. His trophy case isn't quite as large as somebody like Wayne Gretzky, but still 6 Hart trophies, 6 Art Ross trophies, and 4 Stanley Cups. Not bad, right? Gordie Howe played professional hockey for just an insane amount of time because you have to remember from 73 to 79 he played in the World Hockey Association before returning to play one final season in the NHL where he had 41 points as a 51-year-old. One stat that always blows my mind, I'll tell you guys in case you haven't heard it already, but Gordie Howe started playing professional hockey before Bobby Orr was born, and Bobby Orr wound up being inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame before Gordie Howe even retired. That timeline is absolutely nuts, and it really just puts into perspective how long Gordie Howe played professional hockey compared to others. Next up we have Alberta, and although they have produced multiple Hall of Famers, this is another very easy one. The greatest player of all time from Alberta has to be Mark Messier. A total of 1,756 NHL games played for Mark Messier, which is second only behind Gordie Howe in NHL history. Over 1,800 points, a total of 6 100-point seasons, a 6-time Stanley Cup champion. Mark Messier was just a winner. He won the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoffs MVP in 1984 when the Oilers won the Cup. He had 26 points in 19 playoff games. And Mark Messier also gave us one of the most badass moments in NHL history when he guaranteed that the New York Rangers would win Game 6 of the 1994 Eastern Conference Finals against the New Jersey Devils. And not only did they win the game 4-2, Mark Messier scored a hat trick in that game. The Rangers went on to win that series in 7 games and of course went on to win the 1994 Stanley Cup. Mark Messier had 30 points in 23 of those playoff games. Like I said, he was just a winner. Next Next up we have British Columbia, another province that produced numerous Hall of Famers, but this one for me came down to Joe Sakic and Steve Yzerman, a couple of number 19s. You really could go either way with this one. I'm gonna give the edge to Steve Yzerman. He played a lot more games than Joe Sakic did and obviously had more points, although Sakic had a better points per game. Steve Yzerman won 3 Stanley Cups, all coming with the Detroit Red Wings. He was the Conn Smythe Trophy winner as playoffs MVP in 1998. He won the Ted Lindsay Award in 1989. He won the Selke Trophy as the league's best defensive forward in 2000. Also, Steve Yzerman's 155 points in the 1988-89 season is the most points in a single season by a player in NHL history not named Wayne Gretzky or Mario Lemieux. He's a part of the NHL's list of their 100 greatest players of all time. He's a Hockey Hall of Famer, just an absolute legend, and he's now regarded as one of the better GMs in the National Hockey League. I mean, we saw what type of team he built in Tampa Bay. And now finally, last but not least, we have Quebec. Again, I feel like I've said this a lot throughout the video, but there are just so many guys I could give an honorable mention to here. I will give one to Jean Beliveau though. I feel like I have to. Nobody's done more winning than he did. But the greatest NHL player of all time from Quebec, Mario Lemieux. When you talk about the greatest NHL player of all time, there's Wayne Gretzky and then there's Mario Lemieux. And there are definitely people that believe Lemieux is the greatest to ever play the game, and that's for good reason. Had he not missed as much time as he did in the middle of his prime, you never know, right? Over 1,700 points for Lemieux in just 915 games. He won the Art Ross Trophy, leading the NHL in scoring 6 times. He won the Ted Lindsay Award 4 times, a 3-time Hart Trophy winner as league's MVP, a 2-time Conn Smythe Trophy winner as playoffs MVP, and of course a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. Can't forget he won the Calder Trophy as well as NHL's Rookie of the Year back in 1985 when he had 100 points in 73 games. You really can just go on and on about Mario Lemieux. I definitely feel like he was a pretty easy choice as the greatest NHL player of all time from Quebec. But that is going to do it for today's video. Those were the greatest NHL players of all time from every province and territory in Canada. Like I said at the start of the video, if you guys want to see the same concept for every state in the US, then let's try and hit 800 likes on this video. That video will probably be a lot more interesting because there are so many more states than there are provinces. And remember, this was just my opinion, so if you disagree with any of my picks, be sure to get down there in the comments section and let me know what yours would be. Again, make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, and most importantly, if you want more NHL content just like this and you have not already, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will talk to you all in the next video.